Welcome, Royal Family. You tuned into Healing Queens, the podcast, where the focus is motivation, support, and guidance for the growth of our queens and kings. I'm Emma E2K, your certified healing life coach, your motivator, whatever you want to call me, as long as it's positive. Welcome, welcome. Our sponsors for this episode are Healing Queenz Inc., E2K Worldwide Services LLC, Scarcity Music Group, dbboutique.com, soberlife.com, As She Speaks Events, and Grace and Seal Notary. Please give it up for our sponsors. Thank you for all the love and support and understanding what we do here. If you want to be a sponsor, please email us at healingqueens@gmail.com. Healing Queens, Queens with a Z, at gmail.com. So we can send you our rate sheet. Welcome, welcome to podcast, to the episode 97, and healing through education, right? It's called Healing Through Education. You know how it goes. These podcasts, I have a conversation with somebody or I have a thought process and I say, that can be a podcast, right? This is going to be a podcast. But today I have a special guest. I'm not going to talk about it just by myself because honestly, I'm not an expert in too much education, right? But I have someone that is, and she's one of my sis. We go ways back. I'm so proud of her. She's been doing like this amazing healing journey, adding education and all type of things. I mean, I'm gonna let her, I'm not gonna speak her story, but I'm so, I've been asking her for a minute, and I know she's been busy and all that. I get it, but she's here and I'm so excited. So please give that healing podcast, Healing Queens, welcome to the one and only Dr. I get to say it. Dr. Mo Edu. Please welcome.
Thank you for having me, sis.
Welcome, welcome, sis. Welcome. Man, how are you? It's been a minute. I know I seen you a little recently, but it's been a minute that we really have gotten to chop it up. It feels so like nostalgic because the relationship of you and I started through radio.
Yeah,
So and ever since, we've taken two different roads, but yet we still on the journey of helping people heal, right? And contributing to that. I want to let people know that her story is not an easy one, and we're not here to go do testimony part. What we here really is for her to touch on her process of healing, right? What she's healing from and how she applied education to that aspect, right? So I mean, don't give it all up in the beginning. How we have to say doctor before your name first. Go back a little into the past. Maybe those that see it will know you because they know, if they watch this, they know who you are in my life. But
mhm.
those that are new that don't know you and just meeting you, introduce yourself and tell them your story. That's what we're here for.
Hi, my name is Dr. Moji Soledu, or you can call me Mo. And also known as Lush and Lush Radio Online, where me and Emma, connected. Emma was doing Outstanding Magazine, and a media guru and maven, and we connected together. And we were the podcast before the podcast you see now. And here we were, we were the online before there was an online, and we were doing our thing, and we touched a lot of people, and we continue to help people in our community. We've always been in community engagement from day one. It's been in us that we're both Pisces, and we just love to help people. We don't like to see people suffer. I mean, we've helped the homeless, we've helped shelters and many other things, children with gifts. So we've continued to do the work. It's never changed, it's just in different forms and in different states, but we've continued to do the work, and doing different paths. I know, for me, I'm a former displaced homeless veteran with my daughter. I was homeless at one point with my daughter for a long period of time. I also dealt with an abusive relationship with my first husband, and also dealt with military sexual trauma, from the military, also a disabled veteran. So going through all those different layers of trauma, and also dealing with a mother who was, in a sense, dealing with her own trauma, who actually was one of my first bullies in life. So, dealing with that, and also my father was murdered when I was 10 years old. So, all these layers of trauma in my life, and at a young age, not really understanding what trauma was, and I used like writing to express myself through poetry. Me and Emma used to do poetry like crazy back in the day. Like, it was an outlet. It was either dancing or writing poetry or rapping, and just finding ways to express ourselves. But I guess as you continue to go through trauma, sometimes there's pieces of yourself that you lose, through those times of trauma. So, I had originally went to school, when I graduated from high school, and my mom was dealing with, she was drinking a lot at that time, and she wasn't really as supportive. But I know it was because of her own trauma, and that took a toll on me. And I was supposed to graduate in 2003, but I didn't graduate from UMES. I ended up leaving, going into the military, and I ended up marrying my first husband, and I had my daughter at 22, not knowing that that was going to take a whole downhill road where I was going to go through verbal and physical abuse with him. No one wants to go through that when you're in a relationship with somebody. And at that time, he was very controlling at that time. And, my father always told me that education was a pathway before he died. And I always thought that, I said, education was something that made me feel free. I used to live in the library. So, after dealing with all of that and kind of getting my footing again, I started after I was working so many jobs and basically was homeless. I was working at IHOP one time, and this young lady, I think she was in her 50s at the time, but she was gorgeous. And she said, "You don't need to be at IHOP. You need to be a teacher. Why don't you be a substitute teacher?" I'm like, "Well,
Wow.
I don't have my degree." She's like, "Do you have a high school diploma?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You could be a substitute. And then eventually you can work your way up." I said, "Are you sure?" So, I decided to fill out the paperwork, did the background check and all this other stuff. And then I went to the school, one of the high schools that I used to go when I came to Maryland from New York. And I went there, and everybody actually remembered me, and they hired me, and I started substitute teaching for the high school at first. And I did so well. They wanted me to deal with children that had IEPs, that had special needs, to support them and do one-on-ones. So I started seeing that, and I started advocating for students, because a lot of the parents were in denial that their children had IEPs, and they weren't getting quality support in order for them to thrive within the classes. And they, at that time also, there was not a lot about social emotional learning and meeting the children where they are to give them the support and the things that they needed. So I took from what I learned as a child, because I remember my teacher, Mr. Marr, shout out to him. He's now working at Coppin University, he became a principal, but he believed in kids first, and he used to act out a lot of stuff, and he really cared about kids. He was the first teacher to actually show me social emotional learning by really getting kids to journal and write. And I think he was the first one to actually really get me to journal and express how I felt. So, I applied that when I was working with the students in Prince George's County. I used to have children, they would say that they were mentally retarded at that time. We don't use that term anymore, but that they were mentally retarded, especially children that were black and brown. But a lot of these kids were neglected, and a lot of them were emotionally disturbed, and they needed something to regulate themselves. Now I like the fact that they're, instead of using detention, some schools are using meditation time or timeout time, where kids can regulate their nervous system. Sometimes they don't know how to express themselves. So I dealt with so many different ranges of kids, from autism, um, to ADHD, emotionally disturbed, bipolar. So many different kids that were dealing with different things. Some kids were dealing with foster care. So I was there to support them through that. I had one young student, his name was Nick at the time. His mom was on drugs at the time and dealt with so much. And I transferred for him because of learning all these different things from just that experience. I decided to continue doing that. And because my daughter was going to school at the time, I wanted to also be that, not a helicopter mom, but kind of protect her. Just keep an eye on her a little bit, just to watch to make sure she was okay. So I went to her elementary school and I was a sub. I became that cool teacher that everyone loved. Every time they always gave me the kids that they said they were bad, but they weren't really bad. They just needed a little love. I had one child that cussed me out. And then she came later and said, I love you, Miss Mo, because you actually care about me. And that's all
Mm,
they need is to know that someone cares about them and someone sees them in
mm,
their presence because some of these kids are raising themselves and they're going riding buses to go pick up their younger siblings. So the most that I can do is show up for them.
right.
So I've worked from K to 12 and I've also done adult learning and also supporting seniors and stuff. So while I was in school and while I was teaching in schools from elementary all the way up to high school, I saw that in order for me to change, because the one kid that I had at one high school, I transferred to another one, and I realized children with IEPs, unless you have power or you're at a certain status, they really don't listen to you that much. So I realized in order for me to be able to really move and help the students, I need to have more power. And that power is in a sense of education. How can I use education to allow me to thrive, to support those who are vulnerable, which are the children,
Right.
Some
Right.
people, some teachers are just there for a paycheck. We're not always in the days of back when teachers used to really care about the students. Like they would make sure that they were okay, and they made sure that they talked to the parents. And there's a teacher and parent relationship. They worked as a team, you
Right.
know. So you have to really advocate hard. So I said, I'm going back to school, and the gentleman, God rest his soul, Tyrone, he was a sponsor and a support for me at that time, and he said, Mo, you need to go back to school. And I was trying to do that. You know how they send you the books at home?
Mm-hmm.
Do it like Phoenix. I said, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I was like, I said no. So then later on, that's when we transitioned to online schooling.
Mm.
The whole online schooling came in,
Yes.
and I finally went to go, like I had to fight because I was dealing with the military sexual trauma and trying to get my disability, and I didn't have a support at that time, so I had to keep fighting until I finally got some support for my disability from the military. But they also had to help me get my bachelor's degree, so I went there and I fought to talk to the counselors. That was a whole time. That's a whole nother story. But they finally helped me like pay to get my bachelor's degree. So I started in 2000 and I think 2006, that maybe not 16. I think I started in 2015, and then I ended up graduating. But I took some pauses because I was dealing with so much stress trying to take care of my daughter, kind of still displaced and being homeless. So I'm like in between places trying to get a place and still trying to get to school. And eventually one day, after like staying in the different churches and the different places, I finally went to the VA. I think it's the CRRC, and I went there and I met this amazing woman who said, she said, I got you. And I was able to get a voucher for housing in less than a month. And
Mm.
she got it. Yes, God bless her and the whole entire CRRC in DC. I was able to get my first apartment with my daughter. My daughter was so elated. So we got our first apartment. And in there, I just continued to study, continue to do all the stuff that I do instead. And then eventually I graduated. I had to take some pauses because I was still trying to find work and pay bills and do all that stuff at the same time. But I ended up graduating with my bachelor's degree in business administration and a minor in management because I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been business minded.
That's right.
I've always been a hustler. I don't care what it is. It's
Yes.
just a different way that we apply it. So,
Yes. Correct.
so I applied that. So I was like, if I get this bachelor's degree, that's gonna be good, right? So I started my own business. I had the Lush Radio Online doing that. I was writing also, but at the same time, I was doing administrative work for people, contracting and consulting with people. So that was little ways I was making money. Then I also had artists like managing and different things like that. I used to do promotions and marketing before the whole algorithms. Like we were on Twitter before there was Twitter, Instagram, all the things. I would always stay ahead of the game
I'm
of
telling you.
technology.
Hmm.
Every time technology switched, I would always be ahead of it. Not when the wave happened, but I always
Hmm.
would be ahead of it to be like I was always a trendsetter in regards to being ahead of social media. And I made sure that everybody around me was in the game of what was changing. Even when it came to AI, I was on the top of AI before it started doing all these
Yeah.
different things, before you had chat and everything like that.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so like I was looking at government contracting. I did that for a little bit and all these things. And I was just being a contractor at one point. So basically soliciting my services at what I did in management and consulting. And I took everything that I learned from the entertainment business and I applied that in like corporate stuff too, right? So then when I transitioned from there, I got my bachelor's degree. I started realizing that there's another space where the bachelor's degree is almost like a high school diploma now. Now it's even more competitive.
Wow.
So now you're getting out. You Everybody tells you get your bachelor's degree. It's sweet sailing.
Right.
No, it's not. Everybody now is asking for a master's degree. So it's like the master's degree or the PhD, and then when I was trying to get the VA to pay for the master's degree, they were like, no, they're not going to be able to do it. That I'm still marketable, and I'm like, the jobs that you want me to do are going to require me to do physical work, and my body cannot do that as I'm getting older because I have lymphedema in my legs, just like Wendy William had, and that sometimes it could be habilitating. And then like I have arthritis in my back, and then I have issues with my hands. So all these different things were happening, and I said I have to adjust so I can work for myself. So I decided that I wanted to go back to school, but I was like, how am I going to do it? And I was kind of wanted to give up because all I did was give, give, give. I was getting to the point of burnout.
Mm.
So, and
Yes.
you and me know
We know
the effects of
burnout.
that.
We know
the,
burnout.
the burnout
Unfortunately, we know burnout
too
too
well.
well. Yeah, too well. But mm,
You could come to the edge of it. We go over the edge of
like
burnout
on the other side, like burnout.
on the other side. But somehow, by God's grace, we pop back up and we still have
Amen.
this overflow
Amen.
to give to people. And I think I said, in order for me to do more and to do it in a bigger capacity, I need to get this education. Not only that, I was getting to the point where I was feeling bored. I did strategic advisory for the DC Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, for veterans to give them like resources. I was mentoring for veterans that were transitioning and their families. I wrote a proclamation. I got a Lifetime Achievement Award from President Joe Biden. I did all these things. I even became an Eastern Star. I did all the things in order to, and my daughter, she did well. She graduated from high school. She went to Binghamton to study mechanical engineering, and she has her job now. But like going through all these processes, I'm like, I also need to show my daughter that it's never over. We're
Mm,
constantly scholars of education, whether it's formal education or street knowledge. We're constantly learning, or even from our elders. And I feel like our elders were our first teachers.
mm,
Those grandmas and grandpas, our elders, that we sat at their feet and they told us the stories. That was wisdom.
yes.
Our abuelas, when they were in the kitchen cooking up some
Yes.
food, and they were teaching us, that was knowledge. And those are scholars, and we need to acknowledge it. Higher education, sometimes I feel like gatekeepers that say that only certain people that have certain titles are educators, but there's a difference between the practice and the theory. I
Mm,
can't stop being black. I can't stop being a woman. I can't stop being in the queer life. I can't stop being who I am as a spiritual person. I live this every single day, right?
right.
But a person that's dealing in theory, which you have a lot of academic professors or people that are academic superstars, that only live in theory. They write books and they do experiments or watch people kind of test people out to write books about them, but they've never really actually experienced the real experience of what people go through, right?
Mm.
And that's where sometimes there's a divide for me. Even when it comes to academic divinity scholars, when it comes to being a chaplain itself, like being a chaplain and telling people they have to do things a certain way. So if this person is queer, you're telling me I can't pray for them. This person is black. This person has a different. You can't divide. That's not God's word.
Mm.
You
Mm.
know, that's not God's word. Now, if you're dealing with the devil, maybe I can be able to change you a little bit. You know, if we open you up to God a little bit, you may can change.
Right.
But you know,
Do a
it's
petition like, Lord.
exactly. Lord, help this one right here. You know, get it together. We can change. So I believe in a second chance for people. So I also, when I was transitioning into going into higher education, it actually was just like, not to say like it was a tester to see, do I have the possibility to even do something like that? Little old me, right? Because I got the certification to be a life coach, a wellness coach. I went and became a Reiki master, and then I also became a yoga therapist. And I did all of this stuff. And the yoga therapy is almost like a master's program too. I had to do all that because this yoga helped me heal because I was on the verge of committing suicide. I
Mm.
was sick. I couldn't move, and I just was over it. And yoga helped me out so much, especially yoga therapy, because we deal with the mind, body, spirit. And
Mm.
if anything is disaligned, you're not going to function. You can't tell me go get a job when mentally I'm distraught or I don't have a place to live. I used to get veterans, they're like, oh, I want you to be my mentor. I'm like, you're talking about getting a job, but you don't have a place to live. Let's talk about that first.
Right.
Let's get you your disability. Let's get you
Yes.
all your things that you need to do,
Your needs.
your needs met before we
Yeah.
even talk about a job. So,
Yeah.
and let's get you your nervous system regulated before you even think about that. And I think so many people are so out of their body, they don't even know what they really need in those moments when they're vulnerable. Like I had a client that was like that, and I've met so many mentees that are like, they want to talk about all these amazing, which they're going to get to that point, but
Hmm.
they have to focus on the inner work. So like being a yoga therapist, yoga saved my life and it helped me so much when I was sick. I said I wanted to give it to the world, but so many things are expensive. I want things to be accessible for people. So that's the said, if I get into higher education, I can open and people would take me more serious. I was already doing what I was doing. Going to Harvard was more of talk to be nice. I can
Mm.
get to a little bit of doors without people questioning because of that stamp.
Mm. Say
We
it again. Say it again. Talk to me next. Harvard.
we've already had the sauce. It's just a stamp is for them to talk to us nice,
Mm.
and to open so many doors and maybe certain connections. But really, we are the ones that bring it there. When I went there, I felt like the ancestors, God in general, just brought me there. Not for the grades or anything, but for me to inject a bit of love and God within the space because it was soulless. There was a lot of people that was a lack of humanity. They had no empathy for people. It was like you were a product and we want to strip every bit of you to create this product and put it out in the world. And if it works great, we can brag about you.
Hmm.
If not, we're going to toss you to the side. You didn't mean anything.
How did you learn about this opportunity for how,
Okay.
like,
So the opportunity for
because
Harvard.
usually, let's face it, right? Us urban people, we're not thinking that, right?
Exactly.
That's almost like, what, right? You want me to grab the sky?
It's it's like a unicorn. It's like a myth. Harvard, Yale, any of these schools, higher education. You're like me going in there. So
Right.
yeah, one of my friends who's for Jersey, she Betty, I got her into the yoga therapy program, and she already had like two master's degrees already, and she was like, I heard from another event she went to. She said she heard about Harvard doing a free PhD program because a lot of PhD programs are actually free. If you get into it, they pay for it. Depends on what path you're going. So she's like, oh, it's free and stuff. So she's like, let's try it. And I was like, all right, bet. What is there to lose? I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get in, but we'll see what
Right.
God has for me. So we're both filling out the paperwork and everything, and we're filling it out. And I'm talking about they make you go through hoops and so much that I wrote
I
like
can
I think I
imagine.
wrote 6 essays.
Woo.
I wrote 6 essays in the middle of the night trying to get everything in. And then they said, would you like to do the master's program if you don't? I said, yeah, if it's possible. She said, no, she actually suggests go through the master's program so you don't have a master's yet and just do it and see what happens. So they had a 1 year program and I did. They have also a 2 year program if you want to do it part time, but they also have an online program that I didn't know about. I wasn't aware about.
Mm.
So I joined that. I was like, how am I going to do it? It's 1 year and you have to stay up there. It's mandatory. You have to stay up there for 1 year at a dorm.
And
So
campus.
on campus, yeah, with
Okay.
the kids, and I'm like a old lady up there with all these kids that are my daughter's age. It was very interesting, but I got through it. So I go there, I get the email, and the email says first it says, "Oh, we can't get you into the PhD program," and I'm like, well, I already have the honorary thing for I'm like, all right, that's cool. Then I get another email that said, "Welcome to Harvard for the master's program. Our advisory board would like for you to come. We like everything you're doing in the world,
What
and
we
we want you to
doing?
come in there." And I said, "God, you playing with me, right?"
What we
I
doing?
said, "I said, look at God, look at God."
Yes.
And then I went to one of the meetings and they said a lot of people saying they don't know if they're going to go there or not because of the money. I said the ancestors and God want us to be there. We built, people of color built Harvard and these schools. It came off of our backs and we deserve to be there and to walk with our head high, right?
Come on.
So several of them that said they was undecided, they ended up coming with me and we ended up being there together. And
Wow.
we just transformed. Our cohort was one of the most powerful cohorts because people brought so many different things with them. But what I noticed was everyone was in a space of service
Mm.
and everyone had been pulled like octopuses outside of the outside bubble of Harvard. And this was the time to really dedicate and focus on themselves. So when you talked about focusing on healing through education, so focusing in on taking almost a sabbatical from regular life into going into higher education to focus on you for professional development,
Mm.
this is what that was. Is really a healing of how do we expand and also play again because as we get older we forget to ask why. This is a space where you ask why,
Mm.
question the evidence, you question the meaning behind things. You also like push against your assumptions about yourself. Maybe in outside circles they told you you weren't good enough or the idea wasn't good enough, but you can do it at the highest platform and test out something here at Harvard, right? And
Yes.
if it makes sense at Harvard, then it makes sense everywhere. And even if people don't get you, like what can they say when you have Harvard behind your name, right? At the at the end of the day. So when I went there, I knew God had me there for a reason because I would see people that I could see their energy, it was drained. I can see people that were going through stuff. I did so much healing work, about 300 people across campuses of Harvard, I did healing work with.
Mm.
I was also dealing with my regular clients that needed healing. And then I also found clients when I was there, and I created a lot of different initiatives while I was on campus. And I did some healing for some of the leadership that were going through a lot, especially we were dealing with our new administration, with the Trump administration. They were cutting so many things. And I thank God the time that we went there, they weren't cutting so much, but a lot of things in the back end, we had to pay for a lot of things out of our pocket. It was not easy. A lot of people were dealing with illnesses and stuff and still trying to go through school.
Mm.
And I was supporting so many different people at the same time while still also doing yoga therapy class and still trying to be sane and dealing with my own
Right.
disability at the same time and maintaining a house back home, paying my mortgage and paying a dorm fee that's way more than my mortgage because Boston is very expensive.
Right.
Really,
So it's
Cambridge
like double you
double what I was
double.
paying. So it was
Double.
like it's going back to school is a lot of sacrifice, but it's worth it at the end. I ended up becoming a commencement marshal. So everybody, my classmates, they said that they loved me to lead them for our graduation, and I got a 3.88 sum cum laude. So
Just saying.
so you have the ability. It does, and I saw people from different age ranges. It's never too late to go
That
for higher education. I think a lot of people put a timeline on when you're supposed to go back, or is the money of it. There are scholarships. They gave me two scholarships for just the work that you're already doing. The schools will pay for that because that's considered life's work.
mm,
So I got a scholarship for my life's work, and then I took out this loan. But thank God, because of my 100% disability, that loan got forgiven.
mm,
So God is good
telling
all
you,
the
won't he
time.
do it? Won't he do
Yeah.
it?
So there is money out there. There's money from organizations and different places that will support you on your educational journey. You can do research. If there's something you want to do in a spiritual background, to just do research maybe on women, on children, people will fund that. There are fellowships that will fund that. There's a thing that I found out called the Fulbright thing for a lot of international students that pay and support people like international students. There's so many different things, but you have to be your own advocate. If you want to advance, there's no limitations on what you can do and where you want to go. I always say that you have to place yourself in the access of your alignment. And the only way to do that is to think beyond the other side of fear, think
Mm,
beyond the other side of doubt,
yeah.
think beyond the other side of limitations that other people have imprinted on you.
Come on, talk about it.
Just
People
but
work operating in so much in fear that they paralyze themselves.
exactly.
So thank you for just first of all, being vulnerable to sharing your story. Um I often like to, go back to go forward, right? Because if we don't understand where we came from, we don't know really where we're at or where we're going. So part of kind of being vulnerable to our story is so people can see that this is a journey, right? The healing process is a journey, and it's not one that's overnight. There's some of us that takes years to heal, right? We make it look easy because we learn tools along the way that help us navigate, right? This thing called, because for everybody it looks different. Just because you don't see us crying and doing all that doesn't mean we're not hurting and we're not broken and then we're not going through things. There are days that we may wake up and all is bright, and there are days that we don't see it as bright, right? But through education, through workshops, through professionals, therapy, all that, we pick up tools, right, along the way. That's why we always encouraging to please seek professional help, right? Because it's going to just, you're going to be able to add it to your tool belt or your healing belt. And as you go along and things happen, it's like, oh, okay, let me remember to breathe. Let me remember to, right? Whatever it is that you learn and you have in your tool belt that you can apply to the moment that the trauma kicks up. Because the trauma just doesn't go away that way, right? We just learn how to manage it, right? And we learn to manage it in a way that we can really overpower it, right? If we really do the work. But the point is doing the work. Everyone has different ways of healing. I wanted to show in this particular episode how you can apply education to that, right? We often think about a lot of other things, but we really don't tap into education. And there's a lot of women and gentlemen out there that maybe have had that thought, oh, maybe I'm too old, it's too late, I can't get the money, blah, 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 right? As you see right here, she answered all that for you. She answered all that for you in this episode. Remove that fear, because it really is just all that fear of the unknown, right? You don't know it, but what's the worst that can really happen? I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? You maybe you don't graduate, but you went through certain classes that you learned certain things, right? So the end goal is never just the graduation. Yes, it's beautiful to graduate. The goal here is to learn, right?
Exactly.
It's just to learn, man.
And we never stop learning. And that inner child is always curious to learn, and when we're younger, we're sponges, but even as we're older, it's like we want to continue to learn. We want to continue to expand our horizons on what education looks like and how it shows up for us. Even when I was there, I created this journal called Reclaim Your Power while I was in there. And just, it's
Where
about
can we get that book?
you can get it on Amazon, or you can get it at Love Struck Books in Boston, across from the Education School at Harvard. And it's just like reclaiming your life and what do you want in this season of your life. Never put limitations on yourself because you are infinite.
Mm. Now I think we're gonna end it just with that because that was so powerful. I thank you, sis, for just taking the time for doing the work, right? Because I mean, we don't do this work to get any acclamations or people to be like, "Oh, you did this," whatever. We just Pisces, right? We do what we do. You know, God has been so amazing,
Amen.
so we do the work, but it doesn't hurt to hear someone that really knows you and have seen you through the good, through the bad, have seen you on this journey, tell you that they are so proud of you, that you are an amazing an example of a warrior queen, you know, because through it all, health wise, mental, everything, family, all that, you still stepped up. You still looked at fear in the face and said, "Not today, son. Not today, son. Not today. Back out, right? Not today. And next week don't look good for you either." And you know, it just takes a whole lot of inner strength, right? And not even inner strength for us, but the inner strength to, like you said, you wanted to get in a situation and in a place that when you said something, you can move, right? Not only little hills, but you're gonna move mountains, and you have done that, and you have done that. You have paved the way for so many other queens behind you, and even the ones in front of you are turning back like, all right, girl, I see you, right? Because that's what you do. You stepped in to do that. And man, I just salute you. I'm just on it in awe of you as being a sis. You know, you're much younger than me. So I'm like, I'm too old. But watching you, it's like, okay, I may not be. I don't know about, going to Harvard, but just continue to
Ever.
want to learn higher education. Everything is not for everybody, but doesn't mean that we still can apply it all and be on the same mission, which is continue to help people heal from their traumas, from whatever it is they need to heal from, because it just makes it a better world. Because this world now,
It's in chaos. But I mean, you are an amazing human inside and out. You have been doing God's work from day one since I met you, and you are the epitome of love in human form. And
mm,
you give to so much, and you've been such a blessing. So I'm in awe of you, and I've learned so much from you, and I'm so grateful for you, for the sisterhood, for the love, and for you just showing up in the world as you are in your fullness. And I'm so grateful for you.
oh, thank you, sis. Oh my goodness. This is an example of a true healthy sisterhood, supporting one another, pouring into one another, loving one another, while we are called out to do whatever God is asking us to do, right? Because we don't know. We
Amen.
say, oh, we're going to start doing this. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. And God said, yeah, no, none of that. You're going to do what I'm telling you to do, right? Because who would have thought, right? Us sitting in your living room or sitting in my living room, right? Like, and even doing the radio shows, who would have thought, right? We really saw something else. But God knows it all. So I'm just grateful that He chased us down because we
and,
were
and
running.
covered us and protected us too.
My God, because we were running. Not just those streets, but we were running, right? And God said, nah, right? Y'all my favorites.
Yeah, y'all favorites and our strongest soldiers. Sometimes I'll be like, chill out, like.
I am not Rambo. I'm a soldier, but I am not Rambo. Slow down. For real. But he does know who to give certain tasks to. And
Yes.
so I'm just, every day, asking God, okay, use me, right? And then you gotta be careful with that, right? Because when he's like, you be like, okay, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, you said to use you. I know, but I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, oh,
My goodness. Sis, thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for taking the time just to bless us, with your story, with your empowerment, all the amazing things you're doing. Show the book again, please. Please make sure to support my sis. It's on Amazon. You know how we do. She is spreading love for free. I mean, not everything for free because she's a doctor now. She charges, but the things that she is putting out there, we have to pour back into her. So please make sure to support the book. Again, thank you. I love you. Until the next time, everybody, what do we say? Peace.